I got a diagnosis, it just like everyone gets alarmed by that word. And I kind of want it just to be normalized because a lot of people are walking around undiagnosed with things. And if I didn't look at my medical bill, I wouldn't have even known I was diagnosed with something. We are GOLDIVY.
Our mission is to empower you to own and unleash your truth.
Stories of resiliency are gold, and ivy grows in hard places.
Those hard places are what create space for light to shine through.
You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
A GOLDIVY production. One of our most popular episodes was with Jessie Golden, the creator of our new favorite and life-changing skincare line, The Golden Secrets.
You've probably seen us post about it because we take it everywhere with us, but we wanted to fill you in on exactly what we're using and the results we're seeing with this sustainable, fair trade, and cruelty-free skincare and wellness line.
Jessie mentioned that the one thing she'd take to a deserted island is her heel oil. So with her incredible looking skin, I jumped in and bought it right away. I'm using the heel oil as a moisturizer at the end of my skincare routine, or if I'm in a rush and only use one product after cleansing, it's the heel oil. I also use it right before my new gua sha routine. The Golden Secrets has a gua sha tool called the Sorceress Stone Gua Sha Beauty Tool. It's an ancient holistic facial massage tool that enhances your skincare routine by increasing blood flow, circulation, and nutrients to brighten the complexion and tone, and it lifts the facial muscles naturally. Jessie says, this is the one beauty tool, hands down, that has made the greatest impact on my skin. It has helped retrain the way the patterns of my face, muscles, and skin function. I'm already seeing more definition in my jawline and cheekbones, which is so exciting. Jessie provides tutorials on exactly how to use all of her tools and products. So as a person who's notorious for knowing nothing about skincare, The Golden Secrets has been my favorite discovery.
And for me, I've spent years getting back my health. And because of that, I take what I put in and on my body very serious. I can say without a doubt that the Golden Secrets is the only skincare products I will use in the future. I swear by the heel oil, the Youth Beauty Face Oil, coconut lip balm, and will soon have every product on my bathroom sink.
The Golden Secrets is rooted in nature, ancient wisdom, and organic beauty. Jessie Golden thrives on making skincare and wellness products that benefit everybody.
We're thrilled that we have a discount code you can use to save money when you shop The Golden Secrets. Use code GOLDIVY for 10% off today and keep watching us at GOLDIVY Health Co. on all social channels as we continue to share our amazing results with the Golden Secrets skincare line.
You can find the link and code in the show notes of this episode. The power to eat healthier is now in your pocket. Not just another food app, Maze is a modern and easy-to-use mobile app that lists only verified, farm-fresh, and locally sourced food that comes from farms and producers that use sustainable and organic practices.
Maze exemplifies the idea that healthy soil grows nutritious food. Nutritious food promotes a healthy gut, gives you more energy, and fuels a better lifestyle. You can now do this easily, all while supporting local food systems and empowering the community around you.
Maze is adding thousands of businesses all across the country so you can eat local everywhere.
Learn more at maze.app, MAIZE.app, or download the app today on the App Store.
And to this episode of the Ivy Unleashed podcast.
Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. We are so grateful you're here with us. Like you all listening, Andrea and I are on our own personal wellness journeys. And Andrea recently had a diagnosis that we want to share with everyone listening.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a reminder that we are not therapists.
Doctors.
We are not diagnosing anyone. This is just our real life experience, what our takeaways are, and giving you a little glimpse of what's going on in our life and why we just feel the need to talk about it and why we think that we all need to talk more about what we're going through.
Yeah. Yeah. Me just sharing in a TikTok the other day that I got a diagnosis. It just like everyone gets alarmed by that word. And I kind of want it just to be normalized because A lot of people are walking around undiagnosed with things. And if I didn't look at my medical bill, I wouldn't have even known I was diagnosed with something. And so it's just, I think it's interesting, just the whole system, the mental health system, the medical system, like all of it, in that, you know, the more we know, the more we can be informed, the more self-awareness we can have. I think it just opens up conversations, because since I posted that, lots of people are texting me and asking me. I'm very concerned, but it's like, well, nothing really changed from when you talked with me before. I just like have this thing. So it's nice though. You know, you have loved ones that are checking in on you. Is there something I don't know about? Are you okay? How are you handling it? And so we kind of want to talk a little bit about our history with mental health, what we've been diagnosed with, what we would diagnose ourselves with, you know. And another thing too is, this is my interpretation of a therapy session, right? This is, she said words, and my brain can only grasp so much. And then I'm interpreting what she's saying, applying it to my life of decades of years of coming from a, you know, dysfunctional background, and then trying to raise kids and giving birth and postpartum things. And so it's a lot to apply to your identity and put you in this box, right? So we're going to talk about that. So just some background first. When I first started thinking about like, okay, I get this diagnosis, which let's just do the spoiler alert now.
Yeah, people are like, what the hell are you
What
talking about?
What are you diagnosed with? So what the medical bill said was diagnosis, and under that said anxiety, unspecified. Which to me, it's not a huge surprise, because I've noticed anxiety in different, like in specific scenarios. My heart races in certain scenarios. And the first time I really actually felt like, okay, this might be anxiety, was postpartum after having my first child. Like I was just feeling like everything was out of control. I was worrying so much about certain things. Lots of triggers made it happen. I actually remember writing, because my best friend Brooke was like, I think you need to write what's happening. And then I read it to her, and she was like, I cannot diagnose you, but this sounds like anxiety, Andrea. Like you're worrying about literally every angle of your life, and it is affecting your functioning. Because I didn't really want to leave my apartment. I didn't really want to go outside. I was worried about germs. I was worried about people thought. I was worried if I was a good mom, like all these things. So I think if I were to get a proper diagnosis, then it probably would have been postpartum anxiety. So that was the first time I really felt like, whoa, I really thought I was a relaxed person, and now I'm not. But like, is it because I'm a mom, or like, what is this? Because it was affecting my relationships and things like that. So I was walking around undiagnosed then with it, you know, and then I think after I stopped breastfeeding, I think my hormones leveled out. And I think that's probably a huge part of things too. It's just like, if your hormones are wacky, your mental health is going to be too. Like everything's connected. And so it's just like a whole picture of your well-being. But as far as this therapy session goes, like I've been talking with her, I've had a handful of conversations with her, and when we got on this call, I was like, I really want to understand this diagnosis of how you got to those words, what they mean. And my biggest concern, honestly, of like finding it out on a piece of paper was, am I doing the right thing I need to do to be coping with this? You know, just
Also, if you have a diagnosis, why isn't anyone telling you?
right. And like, I just think that's so strange. And I expressed that to her. I'm like, why is the system this way? Right? Like, I feel like I want to hear from you. Okay, from, you know, the criteria that I go by, because there's a GAD score. So it's like generalized anxiety disorder, like scoring system, which I scored low enough that I don't have generalized anxiety. And so there's different categories of anxiety. And again, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I just know she couldn't put me in that box. She put me in this other box, which is kind of more like in a lot of different scenarios, you're experiencing anxiety enough that like we could probably put a diagnosis here. And she went through with me exactly the different scenarios I've told her I'm anxious about, whether it's boundaries with family, if it's worried about, you know, generational trauma, like, am I going to pass this on to my kids? I think it was like one of the things she noted. And then when she asked me sometimes if I'm anxious, what I notice, and I said like my heart races and I can get kind of fidgety with my hands. And so she was like kind of rattling off these things to be like, you know, these are the things that kind of put you in that bucket. But then when I asked her, like, I guess I'm just confused why the second that you put me in that box or gave me the score that gets me this diagnosis, that didn't you talk to me about it? And she said, well, that's just not standard protocol. And a lot of people don't even care or even notice it or like read it, or they see it and they don't even ask about it. And I'm like,
well, I'm sure some people know. Like,
right.
Of course I have anxiety. But for you, it's what that means having this diagnosis.
Totally. And how is it affecting everybody in my life? Like, I'm going to get emotional, but like, I did a check. I was like, Brooke and I were on a walk and I was like, hey, I need to know, like, I'm an anxious person. Like, I know I have anxiety here or there, but like, I need to know how it's affecting you. Like, I'm with you so much. So then I was worried about you, which is probably part of my anxiety is like, I worry, but I just don't want my shit to negatively impact you. I don't want it to be, I want to be aware enough of it that it's not impacting my kids. And I think that's part of this is like, what is a healthy amount of worry for you to carry? Because I consider myself like a responsible parent. And if I'm not worried about my kids, it feels kind of irresponsible, right?
Right.
I don't think the amount of worry I have for my children is negatively impacting my functioning, but she might, and so it's like, what part of this is subjective? Like,
right. Like she's also not in your head. And when we were discussing it, I'm like, of course she thinks you have anxiety because that's what you're coming to talk about. Like you're in a therapy session. You're not going to come with all these things are going amazing in my life. I have no problems. Okay, here's $100 buy.
True.
So at first I thought for insurance purposes, she had to put something down. Otherwise, can you keep working with someone if they don't need therapy?
Oh, well, what she said is also like part of the unspecified anxiety. She was like, that category will not like dock you in life insurance too. So she's like, it's like the most minimal thing I could write down. And so I guess I'm still kind of confused on like exactly how that process works. And, that's like why people go to school to figure out exactly how to do these things. But I think the biggest thing is like, one, to have a therapist to talk you through this, right? And so when I was saying like, what's this healthy amount of worry as a parent? She was saying that, when you're thinking about protecting your kids, because that's something I talk about, is like, I want to protect my kids from my shit, my family shit, like generational trauma from the past that we're even unaware of, right? And she's like, there's a difference when you're a parent. You cannot protect your kids from everything or most things, honestly, but you can prepare them, right? So she gave this visualization of, you were thrown into a pool as a kid and you had to swim in that pool. Right? You didn't get to pick the family you were born into and the issues that they had, but you had to swim in it to survive, right? Your kids now, yes, they're a part of that family, but it's more like a splash pad where there's like a little fountain. It's kind of sprinkling them. They're getting a taste of somebody's temper that they have or someone's inappropriateness that they have, but like they're fine. They can run through the splash pad and they probably don't even notice half the times they get, hit with water. But also, there is the big bucket at the splash pad that sometimes there could be an explosion in a family situation or something super inappropriate or something that like, it's a big bucket and it's going to hit your kids, right? And you can't protect them from that because it's going to spill and you might not be around all the time when it happens, but you can prepare them for it. And so then we had a discussion like my anxiety as a parent, that what I can do is I can create that environment at home where my kids can feel like if the bucket gets spilled, they know they can come to me. They know that they don't have to deal with the bucket. They can peace out and find mom and dad and that like they're a kid and that they're supposed to be a kid and that their parents can deal with the bucket spill. And so we talked about that. I'm like, I feel like that is so powerful because we do worry as parents, like, are they going to have an inappropriate coach or teacher when I'm not around? And like, how are they going to handle it? Or they go off to college and something's going to happen. Like, I can't even imagine like the worries then or when they're driving, right? But it's like, you can prepare them in your own ways. And that kind of, I think, reduces the worry factor.
Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Every episode of Ivy Unleashed is dedicated to empowering you to take ownership of your health. And what it really comes down to is prioritizing your mental health.
We've both seen the beauty and growth that therapy can bring and are thrilled to partner with BetterHelp to allow you the opportunity to feel heard and seen by a professional. The National Alliance on Mental Health reports that 155 million people live in a designated mental health professional shortage area, And BetterHelp is working to close that gap.
I've personally used BetterHelp and loved it because it was all online, making it super convenient. The biggest piece for me was how affordable it is. I was able to choose the therapist that met my needs. I came in with wanting to work on childhood trauma and anxiety, and it was unbelievable to see how many options I had with all the different backgrounds of therapists.
With BetterHelp, you have access to a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness. And sometimes we can't see our own patterns and behaviors until we talk them out and get an unbiased perspective.
It's really nice to have someone who doesn't know you and has the professional background to help you thrive in your daily life. It has made the world of a difference with every relationship in my life, including the one with myself.
To get started, all you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire about your needs and preferences and choose your therapist out of the options they give you. You can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. Also, you can switch therapists at no additional charge until you find the right fit for you.
The best investment you can make is in yourself. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/goldivy. That's betterhelp.com/goldivy.
Take the first step to inner peace and freedom today. Brooke, what do you think everyone wants more of?
Energy.
What do you think most people are hoping to come out of 2023 with?
Feel more confident, be an example for others, actually have the self-discipline to take care of themselves.
Yes, exactly. Because we hear the need for it and we want to help you get in the best shape of your life, we created Move with GOLDIVY, our virtual workout platform.
Our dream has been to create accessible, affordable, and effective workouts that you can do anytime, anywhere, designed to hold you accountable and get you the results you need.
You can pick any workout you want at any time, but if you do want a plan that alternates muscle groups and leaves your body feeling energized and strong, we have a weekly plan that you can follow to take the guesswork out.
It's easy to navigate and packed with all kinds of workouts that will help you strengthen, trim, pump up, tone, energize, de-stress, all of the things we want our body to feel. It's within Move.
Don't forget to mention the resources we offer. As a member of Move with GOLDIVY, you'll be a part of our exclusive Ivy League community, where we share our top wellness resources on things like meal planning, gut health hacks, time management, and more.
And because you listen to the Ivy Unleashed podcast, we want to offer you all of this for only $20 a month, cheaper than any monthly membership you'll find.
Not only that, you'll get a free trial week to test it out.
And if you need more incentive to start prioritizing you, here's our favorite part. Your movement matters. Each month, 10% of your membership will be donated to support the mental health of those in need.
So head on over to goldivyhealthco.com/move or find the link within the show notes of this episode and sign up today. Stop putting yourself in the back burner. Snag your spot and reap the benefits that you deserve to feel this year.
It's your time. Move for your health, move for your confidence, move for your mental clarity, move with GOLDIVY.
And now back to the show.
Yeah, when I think about anxiety, I think about worry and not being in control, right? And when you think about, okay, what is in my control? I can prepare them. Like, that's such a beautiful reframe because you can worry yourself sick. So many people do it. So many people, it's just who I am. I'm just an anxious person. And I would challenge you to think, are you? Do you have to be? Do you want to be? What if you didn't have to be? You know, that simple tool alone is going to help so many people, and you found that in therapy. So if you're listening right now and you would consider yourself an anxious person and it's how you've always been and you just deal with life and sometimes you can't leave the house or sometimes it's hard to get out of bed, like, that is stopping you from being able to function and live a quote unquote normal but beautiful life. And therapy and different tools that a therapist can provide you could be such an awesome resource for you. So I just want to encourage anyone listening who is telling themselves, I'm just an anxious person, that is a story you're telling yourself. And I feel like I have a different view on this because of my own experience with anxiety. Right? Everyone's experience is so different. It is subjective. What you view as worry, I view differently. I'm not a mom. So my view of it is so different.
It's important too. It's like you are kind of put in this box with this title, but like, do you want to be in that box? Because then now I'm like, what do I do about that box? Do I have a responsibility to fix the box, change the box, whatever? And then she talked to me about over responsibility. She's like, your whole life, you've had to be over responsible for your safety, for your success, for your whatever. And so she's like, you're kind of doing it again. Like, she's kind of like, let it be what it is. And like, you don't need medication. I don't think you need medication. Like, she gave kind of her opinions on those things. But at the same time, it's like, if I'm getting a diagnosis, to me and everybody else that's like triggered by this, like, it's like, well, there's something wrong, right? There's something wrong. And so I just think the more we talk about this, it's like, well, what is wrong? Like, what makes me anxious, and what can I do about it? And what can I let go of? I loved when the Menstrual Mogul was on, and she was saying like, every month is an opportunity as a woman when you're like shedding your lining or whatever, that it's like, what do I want to let go of? And kind of like, I think with anxiety, it's a great, and maybe depression, maybe, I don't know, any other diagnosis you can think of. It's like, what can I let go of in this that I don't want to identify with? Or what kind of triggers do I want to be like less of a trigger for me? You can't figure out how to make it less of a trigger. You've got to get help. Like, we're the first people to say, get a coach, get a therapist, right? Get a friend that will listen, whatever it is, get a journal. But it's necessary. Like, if you feel like you're stuck in the thing, you've got to get out. And like you said with a therapist, it's like, this one visualization is going to transform the rest of my life, thinking about like this big bucket. And like, I worry about the bucket. Like, and I do when I'm at those freaking water parks too. I'm like, damn, the bucket's about to spill. Let's get out of here. But it's just those little tips in therapy. And you might not always jive well with your therapist. You might not always have the best experience every time you talk with a therapist, but the art, the act, the practice of chatting with someone and opening up, like, we don't have to be ashamed of these things. You know, like, I think it was kind of shocking to some of my closest people that I shared that. I'm going to share everything. I don't know why I wouldn't share that too. But we don't have to have a shock factor. Like, so many people, especially today with how we are into technology and what's happening with our gut health, like, people are anxious. People are depressed. They're walking around and they're not talking about it. And there's nothing wrong with saying like, oh, my therapist diagnosed me as anxious. People are like, oh, cool. Like, my friend said, welcome to the club. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to love you here. We're all here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to backing what you just said, think about our society. We are more stimulated than ever. We have access to see everyone's life. I know for me, social media is a huge trigger for me of, I'm not doing enough. My life sucks. Oh my gosh, I'll never amount to what they're doing, yada, yada, yada. It's a comparison trap. And so that gets me anxious. Does that mean I am my anxiety? Does that mean I'm an anxious person, or am I feeling anxiety? You know, for me, learning more and educating myself on how the gut-brain connection is, that what we eat, how we move, how we stress, what we consume, not only food, but our conversations, our media, it is all affecting our overall well-being. And anxiety is such a huge, huge symptom of your body just being off. You know, think about after drinking. We talk about anxiety all the time. After you drink, like, Andrea and I get so anxious, and it's because you're taking a depressant, and your body's job is to regain homeostasis. And so what does it do? It pumps out cortisol. It pumps out adrenaline. And so when you educate yourself, you can kind of take a step back and be like, oh, okay, I'm not an anxious person. I just drank a little too much last night. Or, oh, okay, my heart is beating. I'm okay. How's my diet? Do I need to put my phone down? You know, you have more ability to take matters into your own hands. And do I think therapy is great? 100%. But what I don't think people are talking enough about is the choices that we're making that are causing us to have anxiety. Because there is a responsibility that comes down to it of, if you do not want to live extremely anxious and depressed, there are so many things you can do to set yourself up for success. Therapy being one. Lifestyle choices being another. For me, when my gut is off, when my health is struggling, my mental health is struggling. Like, they are one in the same. And I didn't learn that from therapy. I learned that from natural medicine. And it is something that has been so crucial in my healing process is, if I'm telling myself I'm anxious and I'm thinking about how anxious I am, that's just creating more anxiety. Like, your mind is always listening. Your body is always listening to the thoughts that you're having. And so the I am, the labeling yourself is so powerful. And when we see that diagnosis, we can become that, right? Of I am this. Okay. So does that mean I just accept it and I don't do anything to change it?
Yeah. Like shifting it to I'm experiencing, I'm feeling, I did this a little too much and it's making me feel not like I am this. Yeah. And I think like having that language or like those shifts of the words, sometimes we need like, well, what else would I say? You know? And I think it's just like my kids are like, I'm hungry. And you're like, oh, hi, hungry. It's like, no, it's like, I'm feeling hungry or whatever. And so it's so simple, but who knows how you can feel if you're like, nope, I've just always been like this. Like, but how does it feel to put yourself, with that identity?
Yeah. Like what if you didn't have to feel that way? And it's not to say it's easy, right? It's not to say it's as easy as saying, okay, I'm just going to say I'm not anxious. I'm not going to be anxious. No, what it is it's empowering you to tell yourself a different story that could set you up for experiencing different things.
Yeah.
For being able to not let anxiety or whatever disorder, diagnosis keep you stuck.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about this on multiple episodes, just like how medication can help, whether it's like something to transition you out of those dark thoughts and then you get off of it, or you're on it forever and you're like, you know what? It keeps me alive on a regular basis. And I'm okay with taking medication, like I think Brooke and I are not anti-medication at all. We're just not psychiatrists or doctors. So that's why we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Just want everybody to feel like if you do lean on medication to help you get to that equilibrium or to be able to function, like there is absolutely nothing wrong with that too. We're just not talking about it because we're not currently on medication and aren't doctors.
The important piece is that you are doing something to help yourself out, that you are not staying stuck, that you are talking to someone, that you are seeking help, you are educating yourself on different things. We're sharing what has helped us, and we want to encourage you to just ask more questions. With you getting the diagnosis, I'm sure it was scary. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to seeing something and having a million questions. And in my health journey, it can be very overwhelming. It has been overwhelming, and it's caused me to be stuck. And I wish I would have asked more questions and not just accepted.
Yeah. And just me asking more questions got my therapist talking about like exactly what it is that, I've already told her that she's like, yep, in these scenarios, you're anxious. And it's like, yeah, I am. So it's like, and I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't surprised. Like, I know I get anxious sometimes, but I think it is like, if it's to the level you get a diagnosis, then it's like, feels like there's something more I need to be doing, And in general, it tends to be, you probably should be doing less, less worrying, less running around, less screens, less alcohol, less whatever, fill in the blank on what makes you anxious or isn't getting you to that calm, rested, peaceful state.
Yeah. It's just awareness of what do I need to put in my toolkit, right? Could be less processed foods, could be less screen time, could be less time at work and more boundaries around family time, fill in the blank to your point. And so we hope this episode just gave you some awareness into a snapshot of our wellness because we're always preaching.
Yeah. And like, you listening right now, you probably follow us too. And you see a lot of fun videos. A lot of the highlights are that we're talking to really amazing people on Ivy Unleashed and we're sharing it. And fun stuff we're doing with our families. A lot of times you don't see us crying on screen, right? You're seeing the highlight reel, but we want to have episodes where we are talking real time about our struggles because it's important to share that too. We don't want to just be the highlight reel. We want something that's a more honest depiction of real life. And if we're going to do something about it, what that kind of looks like, or if we're in the middle of processing it, like I still am, what does that look like? And how can I share this in a gentle way that doesn't make you hopefully be too overly critical of yourself, but more like creating awareness. Like, am I doing okay? Like, would I benefit from talking with someone, and really leaning on the people you love to just do a self-check-in. Like, do you think I'm doing, like, am I affecting you in any way? And I just think the more times we can talk about it and get vulnerable like this, the better for everybody.
Yeah, you feel so much better. It's scary, but it's a freeing feeling, and If this episode resonated with you, if you were like, dang, I really should just check out therapy, we do have a BetterHelp link. And so in the show notes, you'll see betterhelp.com/GOLDIVY. Click it. You can sign up with a therapist. It is such a seamless process. It's so easy. And even if you just want to learn more, click the link.
All right. And for your 3 gold stars today, number 1 is determine the best time of day to check in on your mental health.
Number 2, ask a loved one what your biggest strengths are to help build self-awareness and reduce self-criticism.
And number 3, determine a way to release worries, whatever that is for you. What do you feel like you can do to release some worries, whether it's exercising, getting outside, journaling, or whatever you love, and incorporate at least 1 worry release a day.
Ooh, so good. All right, and your piece of gold comes from one of our faves, Mel Robbins. Mel says, your mental health is everything. Prioritize it. Make the time like your life depends on it, because it does.
This is GOLDIVY signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. We want to thank you and encourage you to celebrate yourself for taking the time to learn and get inspired in your one beautiful life. And if this podcast means something to you, it would mean so much to us if you'd be willing to take 30 seconds to help support our mission to keep bringing you inspiring stories and guests.
First, following the podcast is important because it helps you never miss an episode. To do this, just go to the Ivy Unleashed podcast show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow.
While you're there, if you'd be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review and share your favorite episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful for your support.
We are thrilled you're here and are so happy that you're taking time to prioritize your wellness, self-discovery, and growth with us.
The Ivy Unleashed podcast is produced in partnership with J. Gray Podcast Production.